Hey folks, welcome to another episode of 5 to 15 with Musickers. I'm your host, Jason DeCristofaro, and I'm thrilled to be here with my friend, Chuck Lichtenberger. Chuck, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, let's wave again, everybody in YouTube land.
Hi, YouTube.
Hey, YouTube. You've done so much. I mean, you've been a fixture on the West North Carolina music scene now for almost more than 2 decades. I want to say almost 3 decades, actually.
3 decades, yeah.
Yeah.
Just about 3.
And you also were part of a nationally touring band.
Yeah.
So you have toured the whole country, writing original music, performing that for thousands of people.
Some nights.
Well, that's the touring life, right? You're an educator. You teach. You've taught several people. You've touched countless lives teaching piano and music theory and things of that nature. So there's a lot of things we could talk about, but the thing I want to dive into, and this was actually Chuck's suggestion. I thought this was great. Because he's done something that very few people I know have done, which is you hosted a jazz jam for almost 20 years here in Asheville. From 2000 to 2010, you were the host of the jazz jam at Tress's. And then from 2011 to 2017, you were the co-host of the jazz jam at Barley's. So
yeah.
I'd like to kind of explore that. I guess, how did you even get into that? How did that sort of opportunity fall into your lap around the year 2000?
Well, there wasn't a jazz jam at all. There was nothing like that. And I was presented the opportunity to host the open mic at Tress's. And it was technically an open mic, but we would play jazz in the first set, in our intro set. So we kind of turned it, we morphed it into a jazz jam. But there were still people that weren't, well, for the first several years, it was more of an open mic, but I still think of it as the jazz jam.
Yeah.
We were doing all jazz, the house band.
But I guess to include people.
Yeah.
And, make it more open, different styles and things like that.
I don't think it would have worked in 2000. There's so many people that are really into jazz now. And in 2000, that was not the case.
It was a different world, because that's about when I moved to Asheville. And yeah, it's really grown as a music scene. And I guess, what are some of the things you've noticed change since 2000?
Just the ability to have multiple jazz jams that seem pretty well supported. I mean, that was the only jazz jam, and it was not that well supported. I mean, it was on a Monday night or a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
It wasn't very popular, just to be honest.
Right, and this was you on piano, and then who else?
There was different people on bass. Sometimes Grant Cuthbertson, sometimes Mike Alexander, sometimes Michael Libramento.
Oh, yeah.
Was playing electric bass, and then the drummers, there was Robin Tollison. There was a couple other people, but at the end it was Joey Kay.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like a trio. And then actually that's how I met Jonathan Perlman. He would come out to that jazz jam all the time, and he became just like an honorary fourth member of the house band.
Kind of made it a quartet.
Yeah, helped out there. Yeah,
that's very cool. So when did it start to transition from more of an open mic kind of setting to more of a jazz focused thing?
So some of you out there might know I have a temper sometimes, and somebody came out a lot, and it was so bad that people would leave the bar. Like, people would running up to the bar and like, I've got to close out my tab now. I can't be in this room anymore.
Ouch.
And we all felt the same way, and we actually just shut it down for, I think it was like a couple months, and then when we came back, it was just jazz focused because of really this one person.
So when they say one person can't make a difference, I guess it's not true.
It was very strange. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but it worked out in the long run.
It worked out, yeah. But then it became more of a jazz focused thing, and that was great.
What are some of the things that you enjoy? What are some things you take away or enjoy from hosting a jazz jam?
I love the community aspect of it. I think that's wonderful, and I love meeting new players, and I love it when there are players that maybe aren't as experienced that are open and willing to listen to feedback, because, as you know, like, we're putting on a show,
right?
And it's so hard to make the balance between, hey, we're putting on a show, and oh, this is a learning experience for people.
Right. Right.
Which is, man, it's tough.
Well, there's the business side of it because yes, there's that educational component of people are learning and growing in this, excuse me, collective musical setting. But it's also at the end of the night, the business is expecting something from you as the band leader, and they're expecting the entertainment value in a certain quality. So how do you kind of balance that? In your opinion, what are some things that work and what worked for you or didn't work?
I think I had some ups and downs as far as how I handled it. I don't know if I necessarily handled it all that well all the time. And I actually want to turn it around on you and say that. Well, we just got done doing the jazz jam today.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are people that have been coming out to that jazz jam, to Jason's jazz jam, that have gotten a lot better.
Agreed.
They're very listenable, and I know that sounds like an underhanded compliment, but that's to become listenable in this genre that's an achievement.
That's a great concept. I think it's true of any genre, right? The idea of being listenable. In your mind, how would you define being listenable? What are some attributes or qualities of that?
Knowing your skill level and staying within that is, to me, the biggest one. Big listening to other people. And it's just everything to me that goes back to number one. How do you know yourself? Do you know what you can and what you can't do? And I just hear like the people I'm thinking about today, just like there's phrasing now. They're taking breaths. They're not jumping up on songs they don't know.
Right.
It's like, and I know I've heard you talking to a lot of people about that. And yeah, like today was it was a show.
Today was very good. I think everybody who sat in played well. I don't think there was a weak performer in the entire 3 hours.
Yeah, that was that's the kind of show that like you're like, oh yeah, I can keep doing this for a while. And then there's other nights, but you have no control. There's nights you're like, the other days you want to get out of there.
Well, one thing I always appreciated was how diplomatic you were. So if somebody would come up and maybe it wasn't going so well, they were losing the form of the song, or they were out of key, or losing the rhythm, or something of that nature, and it was really causing this musical chaos, you had a very diplomatic way of sort of wrapping up the song without... No, you really did, I thought. I mean that seriously. You had a diplomatic way of wrapping up the song and always being encouraging and positive, even if someone tanked. And I think that's an important aspect of it. That's something I always appreciated.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I had a couple times where I'm embarrassed about how I acted there, like where I kind of I took it personally and was like, it's not personal. People are in their own world. They're doing their own thing.
Totally.
But I would be like, what are you? Like in my back of my mind, I'm like, what do you? How dare you?
Right.
It's how I would kind of think in the back of my head.
Well, so there's an interesting thing about the culture of not just jazz jams, but I think any type of setting where you have a whole group of artists getting together, and it's sort of like this giant chemistry experiment in a way, right? Because you have all these different personalities, all these different ideas about what makes something music or doesn't make something music, what works, what doesn't work. For people, I think especially younger musicians, I think all of us when we're younger to some degree, we're like trying to prove something and et cetera, et cetera. What are some pieces of advice you might give to younger musicians, especially who haven't been to a jam and they don't really understand the culture, from your 20 years almost of experience of hosting? What are some just tips you would give them?
Listen to jazz music. Listen like it's your job. And then sit down and play what you hear. I would also say, like, as a pianist, there's a difference for me between listening to Keith Jarrett and Herbie Hancock or Horace Silver. I can pick up more things that I can apply more immediately from Horace Silver, because Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea and Keith Jarrett have, they're virtuosos, and they have chops that are they're mind-blowing chops. And there are some things I can learn from it, but there's also things that I can't.
Right. So it's finding that balance between, I guess, inspiration and this thing that's up there, but also saying, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. I think for all of us, every musician I know, you, me, everyone, we know where we're at. There's always, I think, for every musician, a journey of growth, but it's finding that balance between, okay, I'm trying to push myself, but I'm also going to, I think you said, don't play beyond.
And I struggle with that still. There are times, like I went in today, I was like, I said, play within yourself.
Mm.
And that was my whole focus. Play within yourself, and don't try to reinvent the wheel. But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah.
You want to be cool, and it doesn't help if you're trying to be cool.
Do you see, in terms of personality, so we're talking about sort of the musical side and the technical side, and this is getting more into just the mentality. Um, is that something you might tell to people coming to a jazz jam? Is in terms of their relationship with themselves and how they think about it?
I would definitely. You want to set aside your ego. You want to serve the song. You want this. You're trying to within this song. Okay. Let me say this another way. When jazz can be a very individual.
For sure.
People are trying to express themselves and whatnot. But when everybody is serving the song, there's another type of expression in that, and also you're going to reach more people.
Yeah.
You're going to reach that audience a lot. And really, any jazz musician, I feel like, needs to be an ambassador for jazz at any level, because it's not the most popular art form in public.
Sure.
And there's a lot of my friends are like, jazz, what are you doing, right? And I think a lot of that is because of the lack of team.
Right.
And so the beautiful thing in the jazz jam is like, all right, here we're going to be a team. Like, I don't even know who that bass player, I can't remember his name, but the bass player that sat in, the younger guy, and he started playing the actual intro to Blue Bossa today, and I was like, that dude listens to jazz.
Right.
He's not just a bass player.
Yeah.
And it was like, he listens, he knows what's up.
He loves the music, and he spent time with it.
Yeah. And I was like, and that made me so happy to hear him do that, and I just had a good feeling about him. And then he took a solo, and he wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel.
He was serving the song.
Serving the song the whole time. He took one course, and he looked around like, yo, I'm done.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, dude, you.
It's about, and I think it goes back to what you're saying too, is it's about leaving the ego behind and just being there to make music with people.
Yeah, which, again, I fail at a lot.
I think we all do to some degree, but I think it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
And this is something, in what ways would you say you have personally grown as a musician from hosting a jazz jam? Because that's a hat a lot of people don't necessarily get to wear. So how has that been different than, say, just practicing on your own or writing songs or other aspects of music?
I think learning how to make things sound good in different situations. Like it's never like when I hire a band to go play somewhere with me, like that's a walk in the park compared to making the jazz jam sound good, right?
Right.
That's like, you're like, oh, okay.
There's so many unknown quantities.
Yeah, it's like the highest level of band leader.
Right.
It's like the boss, like final boss. band leader, final boss.
If you can make everybody who you don't know show up to the jazz jam, because you never know who you're going to get at a jazz jam. If you can make everybody work together and sound cohesive, then every other band leading situation, I guess, is just a walk in the park.
Yeah, I mean, as far as once you're on stage.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, cool. Well, I guess the last thing I'm curious about, because you did this for a long time, I mean, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
What was the reason you stepped away?
I think I think I got burned out with, and I wasn't handling, I gave too much power away in some senses. It became more of an egalitarian thing and not necessarily the best way. And I was also just kind of burning out, and I was getting irritated. Small things were irritating me.
It's good to know that, though. I think.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times that's valuable advice, because I think a lot of times people think they have to stick with something for some reason.
Yeah.
But I think learning how to be like, that was fun. I did it. I did good. And now it's like,
Yeah, I mean, I miss it still.
So it's something you would do again.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't want to do it full time.
I see. Yeah.
I like that. You and Connor were gone like 6 months ago, and I came in.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was fun. But one of the skills that you have is your memory for people's names is amazing.
Well, I'm a teacher. I have to.
I mean, I am too, though.
Large classes are hard though, because then
true.
students get upset with you. It's like, yeah, you don't remember my name. I'm like, I have like 100 names to remember. This.
Yeah. Well, I'm always impressed with that, and I think that makes people feel welcome.
Yeah.
And when I subbed for you, I had to write everybody's name down.
Oh, those guys.
Which is fine, but I'm saying like I think that's that makes everybody feel like, oh.
Well, the thing though, and this is the thing I always appreciate with you, is you mentioned this earlier about the community aspect was the first thing you brought up, and I always sense that, regardless of what happened with the music or what happened on whatever, there was, even if you tanked at one of your jazz jams, you didn't feel like you were never welcome back. You always felt welcome back.
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
Yeah, and you do a great job with that, and I feel like I think one of the reasons why I'm glad I'm not doing it full time is there's some people there that your jazz jam that I've gotten frustrated with, and I watched you just smiling your way through it, and they've gotten better.
Yeah.
So
we're all on a journey, right?
Yes, we're all on a journey.
So, Chuck, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on this.
Absolutely. Where are some places that people can check out your projects? You have a lot of different music you do. You have a fusion group and several other projects. So where can they check that out?
You can go to chucklichtenberger.com, and I keep my calendar updated there. Play some solo piano gigs. I play with the Get Right Band. I play with My Magnificent Nemesis, and every once in a while I play with Alien Music Club.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Chuck, appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Have a great one, y'all.
Bye.